Is history doomed to repeat itself? Repeat itself? Repeat itself? Find out in today's BFD Talkback. One of our viewers left a great comment the other day about the risks of not keeping an eye on the past. They asked us, those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. Is that true? So it was actually George Santayana who was quoting Edmund Burke before him, who said, those who don't know history are destined to repeat it. It's kind of a weighty question. I don't know that we're definitively going to come up with an answer, but here to help me are two people who bring their take on history to the masses every day. Mark Tweddle and Lynn Ferguson, the creators of This Day Today, a web series that you should all check out. Thanks for coming. And secondarily, tell us a little bit about this series and what people have in store when they check it out.
Well, basically, we wanted to do a thing that kind of is like the Google Doodles. Can you understand that in my accent? Google Doodles?
Google Doodles?
That's it.
Yeah.
So if I do nouns that are completely unintelligible, you repeat them and then people are like, all right, that's fantastic. Yeah. Cool. So you know like the Google Doodles, that they change every day according to the dates. And we wanted to do something like that, but do it with video. So we do a short video every day that says something about this day in history. And it's got a joke in it because most days in history are funny. Although weirdly, some days in August are just not funny. Nothing funny ever happened in August. I don't know what that is, but there you go.
I've got a theory, and this is a very, very loose one, and feel free to shoot it down. August, dog days of summer, really, really hot. No one wants to do anything. No history happened. They don't want to leave. They don't want to get outside. They don't want to. It's so lethargic and gross in most parts of the world during August, at least in the northern and western hemisphere, that they're just they're like, screw this. Let's not do anything.
There's always a day, one day in every month, where nothing happens. And in fact, that's why we discovered that. Did you know that the Romans invented the whoopee cushion?
The whoopee cushion?
The whoopee cushion.
I did not know.
The Romans invented the whoopee cushion. It was like this Roman emperor called Elagabalus.
Yeah, translate that.
Who apparently...
Elagabalus. Or Elagabulus.
He was awesome. Well, he wasn't awesome if you were like Roman, but he was awesome. So like he invented the whoopee cushion. I mean, like he was really gross and all that stuff.
That's probably what made of like some kind of a sheep intestine.
It was, like yeah. Apparently complete and utter bastard. Can I say that?
You can say that.
Good.
Bastard.
Well, he was a bastard, but he invented the whoopee cushion, which shows that everybody's got something good about them. Do you know what I mean?
Even asshole emperors.
Even asshole emperors can invent. But we discovered that because actually on the day that Elagabalus was born or something, nothing else happened. Really? I was like, oh man, nothing's happened. Yeah.
Well, I think January's quite popular.
January's really popular.
Because everybody starts the new year and they lots of new laws and silly laws and.
Yeah. This website seems to be popular among a lot of celebrities. You guys got a lot of sort of big name talent. How do you sort of bring them into your world, and how do you find that they either care or don't care about history?
So we started it from a place of fun. And when people come, if it's not fun, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes we have a script and it just doesn't fit the person.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't fit the kind of character that they give out, and so we just ditch it. There's no problem.
Like
we'll use another one.
Not the Van Gogh one, the Bob Dylan one we had.
Oh yeah.
We had an idea for Bob Dylan's album. It had come out that day, and the person doing it was a guy called Brian Stepanek, who you'll know. He's a big Disney star actually. He was in The Sweet Life. He did something called Brian O'Brien. Okay. Right, yeah. And it was Arwen or something. And we know him, and like he came around to do this thing, and everybody, when he did it, we just all went.
It was just a bit sneery, wasn't it? It wasn't quite.
Yeah, we don't like to do anything mean, unless it's about Rush Limbaugh, in which case he expects it. Do you know what I mean? He expects it.
Well, so, he puts out quite a bit of negativity and anger in his world, so I guess, you know, you can dish it back, right?
So we do, you're allowed to have a go at him, and you're allowed to have a go at Gerard Depardieu.
Okay.
Because he peed on an aeroplane, and I just think that's out of order, right? I mean, you can pee if you're in the restroom, but not like just pee because you're French and you're pissed off. Right. It's like not acceptable.
Yeah. Do you think though? I always wondered about this. Do you think that he knew, like that? Because he was really drunk apparently. Yeah. But do you think that he knew that he was urinating? Like, people.
There's a lot of stories about people. Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
No, I'm just curious. I'm curious to put my head in the mind.
Do you have a friend?
Is there a story you want to share?
I've just known friends who, you know,
are they really
had
good friends?
Glasses of Merlot on, you know, transcontinental flight. and one thing leads to another, and then you wake up and you're urinating on a flight attendant. No, I'm just curious. Do you think do you think he intended to do that?
I think he was annoyed. It wasn't the story that he was annoyed because the seatbelt sign was on and he.
It's too huge to wear a seatbelt.
And he was like, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. I want to get to the bathroom, and they wouldn't let him go to the bathroom. So he was like, well, here you go.
That's drunk logic, though. That's like, all right, you don't let me do that. I'm going to pee right here.
But then he became Russian as well.
To avoid taxes.
Yeah, so I don't think he did that because he'd had one too many glasses of Merlot and didn't know he was doing it. Jeremy Ratchford, who...
He's on Cold Case.
Cold Case. Yes. So he'd come in to do a couple of things, and then randomly I'd started writing things about astronomy, and they all ended up really dirty. There's something about astronomy, and I don't know whether it's me or something, but astronomy is kind of really sexy. And it's all, everything. And if you try not to write something dirty once you've thought about it, it's impossible. So then he came in to do this thing called Sexy Astronomy, and he's really funny at it. Yeah. He's really funny.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because it's interesting to find topics that I think people don't typically find sexy, right? So astronomy, ostensibly, it's boring, and it's about the planets and stars and things that maybe people don't tend to like. Conversely, history, a lot of people find that boring, right? But history can be really sexy.
History's great.
What was it sort of about history? What is it that drew you to this idea of history being something that can be accessible, that can be funny, that can be sexy, that can be new and fresh?
Well, everything is history, isn't it? Do you want to speak now? Will I let you speak?
I don't know. You don't normally let me speak, so it's kind of.
Go on, try it.
You know what I got lost on was the Sexy Astronomy and the Lick Observatory. The Lick Observatory is just...
We found a place called the Lick Observatory. Yeah. There is a really, and like a lot of big astronomers have had their greatest discoveries at a place.
The Lick Observatory.
The Lick Observatory. And there's, between that and Uranus, there is nothing you can do that is like... And in fact, Uranus is a great disappointment because all the Uranus jokes have been done, so if something happens with Uranus, then you're like, oh man. The thing with history is that everything is history. I mean, even like, if you say to someone, oh, do you want a coffee? And they'll reply, no, because I've had 2 cups of coffee already. That's history. They're telling you, I've just had this event. The nature of storytelling is relating something that happened in the past.
Right.
And so if you're looking to do, for us, if we were looking to do something that we wanted to do every day, then history was the natural go-to. And also why we chose to have so many different people doing it is because history is different according to who you ask.
Let's get in. Let's talk about that. So, from our viewer, they were sort of wondering the expression, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? Is that the case? It's a very, very sort of heady question, and we're not going to necessarily come to a definitive answer, but it's something worth talking about. I mean, inherent in that statement is the implication that that history is full of mistakes. It's like a judgment call on history, right? It's saying there have been things that have been done in human history that were wrong, right? It is an inherent morality there. And what can we do to not do that again, right? But should we look at history with that kind of moral vision, and if so, why?
I think the point of that is that history is too vast. You can't learn all the lessons. You have to have some kind of focus in life. So how could you, it doesn't kind of make sense in that broad kind of way. But if you're looking at how to run your business, or you're looking at as to how to become the best athlete in the world, then you can look at that part of history and look at it from all sorts of different angles, and you would be a fool not to read up on your subject or the thing that is your passion that drives you. But I think it's really difficult for like a nation. You could say we went, going to Vietnam, you could say that was a mistake. You could say going to Iraq was the same mistake. Some would agree with that, some wouldn't agree with that. And then it's, was it a mistake? Wasn't it a mistake? Was it necessary? That's up to the person. I don't know that you can really but But I would hope that the people looking at public policy, foreign policy, are in fact analysing that stuff, and hopefully they didn't make exactly the same mistakes they made the last time. Right. And when they did make a mistake, they knew how to get out of it.
Because I mean, that's another thing that I think people lose sight of. It's like they think of history as this gigantic sort of, this sort of task, this thing that you have to learn in school. It's stiff and uncomfortable and associated with memorization and endless sort of quizzes and facts and figures and things like that. But history can be just something as simple as your own family's history, right?
If the point is, like, because we had this discussion about it, and I said, like, if there was no point in history, if there was no biological need for it, then the human brain wouldn't be wired so that it had memory. It had long-term memory. Right. And like the point, like when cavemen were all drawing things around, on walls and sitting around fires, it was all about relating what had just happened. The nature of storytelling, the nature of everything is based on the thing that just happened. And history doesn't always, history is so vast that if you find a boring bit, you can just go, meh, don't care about that. I don't really care about that bit of history. That bit of history I like. If you have an interest in anything, if you have an interest in yourself, if you have an interest in breathing, there will be a point in history that is relevant for you. All
right, but let's get down to brass tacks. We've done a lot of navel-gazing here, a lot of pontificating, but at the end of the day, we have to answer the question, are we destined to repeat history? Are we doomed to repeat it, rather, if we don't learn from it? Yes or no? And why?
Don't know, ask Gerard Depardieu. I don't know. I don't know, I don't care. I'm too busy thinking.
Right? What do you think?
Paralysis of analysis. I think you can't analyse history to that extent. I think you could get yourself all tied up, and actually you learn more by being active and doing. So no, we're not doomed to that.
All right. We have we have a split panel, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking it's a divorce. This is divorce. Yeah, you found out about history, kids, but now you've ruined my romance.
Well, we looked at the past of their relationship and the present moment we just explored.
You can see the
future is grim. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you. This is brilliant fun.
Well, History Week is coming to a close, but the good thing is this has become a part of history. It's available on the cloud now forever. So maybe one day historians will look at this to better understand humanity. Who knows? Interested in making a little history of your own? Well, click the link in the description below to help preserve Civil War sites and stories. For BFD, I'm David Park. Thanks so much for joining us, and subscribe.